Project Zomboid, copious amounts of overwhelming information. These two things go together like white on rice and a glass of milk on a paper plate in a snowstorm. It's super easy to find yourself too overwhelmed by all of it. But that's exactly what I'm aiming to help you with today. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Or, if you're new, welcome. At long last, I get to return to Zomboid on this channel. I've been dying to make more Zomboid videos, but when Wintermute Chapter 5 came out, it demanded a lot of my attention, and Subnautica 2 Early Access is about to come out, and that's going to demand even more of my attention. So, I got a very short window here to get some Zomboid content out, and I plan on doing it. I have two quick things I want to mention before we dive in. The first of which is that, for those of you who don't know, this channel is partnered with GPORTAL server hosting. They offer servers for a ridiculously wide variety of games, and they are the largest server hosters for Project Zomboid. So you know that they know their stuff. If you have ever wanted to start your very own Zomboid server, or any other server, then now is the perfect time, because if you click on my referral link in the description, you will get 10% off your server. Plus, you'll be directly supporting the channel in the process as well. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is that this video is going to be covering the current state of Build 42 of Project Zomboid, which, as I'm sure most of you know, is still actively being developed. Some details from this video may change or be different if you're playing on Build 41 or a later version of Build 42. The current version of Build 42 that this video is being made about is Build 42.17. Oh, wait, no. Build 42.18? When did that happen? Oh, today. Well, I'm glad I caught that. Well, anyways, with that said, let's get started. There's a lot going on in Project Zomboid that can be very confusing to newcomers. Different spawn locations, occupations, traits, skills, and much more. Although those are the main ones. I was at first going to start by talking about occupations, but then I realized something. What do occupations do? They give you skill points. So to be able to understand why any occupation may be good or bad, we should probably talk about the skills themselves first. And here we are. But before we can dive into each skill individually, there's one important question that we need to answer, which is, what is a skill in Project Zomboid? When in-game, if you open up your condition menu and navigate to the Skills tab, you will see your skills. Shocker. And as you can see, there are a lot of them. Assuming that you haven't altered them with any occupations or traits, your skills will all start at level 0, with the exception of fitness and strength, which start at level 5 instead. You'll need to gain skill XP to level up your skills, which all have a maximum level of 10. Generally, you'll gain skill XP as you perform tasks that correlate to a skill. For example, reloading a gun will give your survivor XP in the reloading skill, and building a brick wall will give them XP in the masonry skill. Almost every skill requires the same amount of XP to level up. And you can see how much XP that you have, as well as how much you need to reach the next level, by hovering over the skill in the skill menu. When you gain a level in a skill, you'll gain benefits that pertain to that skill. For example, reaching higher levels in carpentry will grant you access to new carpentry-based crafting and building recipes, and reaching higher levels in short blunt will increase your survivor's attack speed, damage, and crit chance when using short blunt weapons, among other things. For the most part, it will take your survivor a while to level up their skills, but there are some ways to accelerate your XP gain. Skill books can be found for almost every skill in the game, and some even have VHS tapes or television shows on the Life and Living channel that will help you get some extra XP. It's very important to know how to make the most of these various ways to help with your XP. So let's talk about them in more detail. First off, we have the skill books. Not all skills have skill books, but the vast majority of them do. Skill books are very easy to spot, as their name will always start with their skill name plus the book volume. Skill book collections have 5 volumes each, with each volume corresponding to 2 levels of their skill. So Volume 1 provides a benefit to reaching levels 1 and 2 in its skill, Volume 2 is for levels 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. Reading these books provides your survivor with a passive multiplier to their XP gain in that skill. Most skill books will provide a 3 times multiplier for reading Volume 1, 5 times multiplier for Volume 2, 8 times for Volume 3, 12 times for Volume 4, and 16 times for Volume 5. There are some exceptions to this. For example, combat-related books like Reloading will only provide half the normal multiplier at each level. One extra thing to note about these multipliers is that you will get the multiplier gradually over the course of reading the book. So if you're only able to get halfway through Carpentry Volume 1, then you'll have a 1.5 times multiplier until you're able to finish the book, to get the full 3 times multiplier. If you're ever curious how much of a multiplier your survivor is getting to their skill XP, you can hover over the skill in your skill menu, and the pop-up will tell you what your current XP multiplier is for that skill, if you have one. A couple more things to mention is, first, once you pass the levels that the volume covers, your multiplier will go away. For example, if you read Carpentry Volume 1, you'll get the ×3 bonus to XP. But once you finish getting to level 2, and start working towards level 3, the multiplier goes back to ×1. So you'll need to read the next book in the set to get any multipliers for the next levels. The second thing is that you can only read a skill book if you're currently working towards one of the levels that they cover. What I mean by this is, to read Agriculture Volume 2, which provides a bonus to levels 3 and 4, you need to at least be level 2 in Agriculture. Adding on to that, you also can't read a skill book if your skill level surpasses that of the book. So you wouldn't be able to read Agriculture Volume 2 if you've already reached level 4 in that skill. Now, reading these books takes time. The default time to read them is 7 hours and 20 minutes for Volume 1, and then an additional hour and 20 minutes for each volume after that. So, Volume 2 would take 8 hours and 40 minutes, Volume 3 would take 10 hours, and so on until Volume 5. And of course, this is all in-game time. There are ways to speed up this process, though. And no, I'm not talking about traits. We'll cover that in a future video. What I'm talking about is reading glasses. This is something that I had no idea existed until researching this video, but if you find and wear reading glasses, you will reduce the reading time of skill books by 10%. But it has to be reading glasses. Any old prescription glasses just won't do. Okay, that should be it for skill books. Now let's take a look at VHSs. VHS tapes can be found across the world of Zomboid, and a select few of them will provide your survivor with some sweet skill XP if watched. Unlike skill books, they don't provide a multiplier to your skill XP, and instead give you a flat amount of XP for watching them. However, this amount is affected by your multipliers, so a VHS that would give you 100 XP in a skill would give you 300 if you had a 3 times modifier active. To watch a VHS, you have to insert it into a powered TV and hit play. Make sure that you stay near the TV until the VHS is finished playing to get the full bonus. One thing that can be difficult is identifying which VHS tapes will actually provide you with skill XP. It isn't as nice as the skill books, where it says right on it the skill and volume, but there are some general patterns to look out for. For example, the Car Zone VHS tapes will give you XP in mechanics. Exposure survival episodes will give you XP in a variety of survival skills. You can tell based on the name of the episode. Fishing gives fishing, trapping gives trapping, etc., etc. The Cook Show will give you XP in cooking, and Woodcraft will give you XP in carpentry. But aside from those ones, it can be hard to tell which VHS tapes will be helpful or not. So what I'll do for you guys is link the wiki page in the description of this video. That link will show you every VHS in the game, if they provide skill XP, and what skill they provide XP for. The final thing to mention before we move on is that there were actually some recent additions to the skill VHS list in the last patch to Build 42. Well, I guess 2 patches ago, because it just got patched again. It got added recently. And those ones aren't on the wiki quite yet. So until it gets updated, keep an eye out for additional VHS tapes that seem useful. Now, let's quickly go over the television broadcast so that we can finally start hopping into the specific skills. Throughout the first 9 days of your Zomboid playthrough, you can go to any powered TV and tune into the Life and Living channel, which has 3 different shows that broadcast at certain times of the day. Generally, the Cook Show will start at 6 AM, Woodcraft will start at 12 PM or noon, and Exposure Survival will start at 6 PM. There are some exceptions to this, but I'm not going to spoil everything for you. Don't worry though, the schedule is very, very consistent, apart from 1 or 2 times within those first 9 days that there's nothing scheduled when there usually would be. These names of the shows should be familiar because they're the same shows that you can find the VHS tapes for. The main things to remember about these shows are, first, that on the 9th day, the final day that the shows will be on, only the cooking show will air. The second thing is that you should do your best to catch all of these shows. They are the best way to get really quick, easy levels and a couple of crucial skills when you are starting a new playthrough. Finally, once you reach level 3 in a skill, you will no longer gain XP for that skill from any show that is aired on Life and Living. So you don't need to worry about catching a show if you already have 3 levels in its respective skill. Now we can finally start talking about each skill individually, what it does, how to level it up, and any other important information. We'll just go down the list, starting with aiming. Aiming is the skill that will affect your survivor's proficiency with using firearms. Higher levels in aiming will increase various aspects of your firearm usage. Leveling this skill increases your accuracy, which is the base chance that a shot will hit your target, critical hit chance, fire rate, weapon range, and firing angle, essentially meaning that you don't need to be as precise in order to hit. Additionally, the amount of time that it takes to aim and the chance that your firearm will lose condition when fired will be decreased with higher levels in aiming as well. On top of all of that, once you reach level 6 in aiming, your survivor's panic will no longer affect their usage of firearms. Gaining XP in this skill is quite simple. Shoot things, but shoot 'em good. You'll gain XP in aiming whenever you successfully land a shot with a firearm, so make sure you bring plenty of ammo and don't attract too much attention to yourself. Reloading is a very self-explanatory skill. It affects all things reloading. Higher levels improve your speed at changing magazines and loading/unloading rounds from or into firearms or their magazines. To level up this skill, you're never gonna guess this, you gotta reload. I know, it's shocking. You can grab a super quick level in this skill if you just find a gun and repeatedly load and unload it. And you also could just do that until level 10, but that would take a while. So that's gonna be up to you. Next up, we have the melee combat skills, which we're going to talk about all together as they all have generally the same effects. These skills include Axe, Long Blade, Long Blunt, Short Blade, Short Blunt, and Spear. These skills affect how well your survivor can fight with and use the weapons in their respective categories. As you level up these skills, your survivor will deal increased damage with and have improved durability for the weapons in their categories. On top of that, you'll also get increased attack speed, critical hit chance, and chance to automatically push a zombie away when they grab you from the front while holding a weapon in their category. To level up these skills, you need to hit enemies with the weapons from their categories. An important thing to remember in regards to axes is that chopping trees does not give you any axe skill XP in Build 42. The more observant of you may have noticed that one melee combat skill was left out of that last section: Maintenance. Maintenance applies to every melee weapon in the game, and it's the skill that determines how durable your weapons are. We just went over how when you level up melee combat skills, the durability of your weapons will increase, but that's only partially true. What actually happens is that the chance that your weapons won't lose durability when used will increase, meaning that the durability itself stays the same, but that durability does last longer because you're more likely to not use any of it when hitting something. Maintenance does the very same thing. As you level up Maintenance, you gain increased chances that any melee weapon you use won't lose durability when hitting an enemy. There are 2 main methods to get XP in this skill. First is by using your weapons. You gain XP in this skill every time that you use a melee weapon and it doesn't lose durability. Second is by crafting. Crafting new weapons or repairing/sharpening old ones will often provide you with XP for Maintenance as well. One thing to keep in mind is that different weapons have different base stats, including their chance to lose durability. So if you're trying to deliberately level up Maintenance as fast as possible, choosing a weapon with a low chance to lose durability, like the crowbar, is the best method due to the fact that you'll only get XP when you don't lose durability. Now we're moving on to the crafting skills, and there are quite a few of them. Blacksmithing, the skill about crafting with metal; carpentry, the skill for building with wood; carving, the skill for crafting with wood; cooking, the skill for preparing food; electrical, the skill for making, fixing, and installing electrical devices; glassmaking, the skill for, well, making glass; knapping, the skill for crafting stone tools; masonry, the skill for building with stone; Mechanics, the skill for working on and repairing vehicles. Pottery, the skill for working with clay and crafting ceramic items. Tailoring, the skill for crafting and mending clothing. And finally, welding, the skill for building with metal. There's a pretty common theme that can be found in these skills, but to understand it, let's first make sure that we're familiar with these two buttons. This is the crafting menu icon, and this is the building menu icon. Let's open up the crafting menu really quick. Yeah, it's a lot to look at, I know. The only thing I want us to pay attention to right now is these tabs on the left. Notice how many of these tabs correlate directly to the various crafting skills that we just listed. Now let's look at the building menu. Same thing, although there are less tabs in general. To level up crafting skills, you'll need to complete crafts or builds from their tabs in these menus. Higher levels in these skills allow access to more advanced recipes and generally increase the durability and quality of items and buildings that you make. But some of them do have some extra details to note. On top of the things that we just mentioned, your skill in carpentry is reflected visually in the things that you create as well. As you level up the skill, many of the buildings that you can construct will change appearance to match it, going from basic to advanced, and finally, craftsman. Let's take a look at the wood wall, for example, which can first be built at carpentry level 2. It'll start as a basic wall that looks very flimsy, but at level 4 it'll become an advanced wall, definitely nicer to look at. Finally, at level 6, you'll be able to make craftsman walls. This sort of change will also apply to a lot of storage stuff you can make with carpentry. Something important to note for that is that you'll get more storage space with each different version of the storage container. So a crate that is basic will have less storage space than an advanced crate, which will then have less storage space than a craftsman crate. Cooking is a little bit more complicated for leveling. Yes, you can look in the crafting menu for various recipes, but you'll likely be doing a lot more improvisational cooking than preset recipes. Fortunately, you'll still gain XP from cooking food in heat sources, like chicken in a stove, and from adding ingredients to food, like beef to pasta. Or, additionally, just making a salad, chopping some stuff up and putting it into a salad just on a whim. That'll still give you XP for cooking. Electrical is one of the outliers of the crafting skills. While there are some electrical crafts that you can make, that is definitely not the best way to level this skill. Instead, you can dismantle electric devices with a screwdriver, such as lamps, digital watches, remotes, TVs, basically anything that would be considered electric. Doing so will give you XP in electrical. Another way to get XP in this skill is to fix generators, although that method will only be relevant later on once your survivor has the knowledge and need to do so. Masonry is very similar to carpentry, in that many of the buildings you will make have various versions depending on the level you have in the skill. Mechanics is the biggest odd one out from the crafting skills. You won't be crafting or building very much for this skill, as it primarily helps your survivor's ability to install and remove vehicle parts, as well as repair engines. A higher level in mechanics means a higher chance that you'll successfully remove or install a vehicle component, and, in doing so, lowers your chance of damaging the car parts. There are a couple little quirks with this skill that need to be mentioned. First, you can't just start working on vehicles and messing with their parts right out the gate. There are 3 types of vehicles in Project Zomboid: Standard, Heavy Duty, and Sport. Throughout the world, you'll find 3 different manuals: the Standard Auto Manual, Commercial Auto Manual, and Performance Auto Manual. Reading these manuals allows you to work on the cars of their respective type, although you can change headlight bulbs and batteries without reading these manuals. The second thing is that you will get XP for mechanics regardless of if you fail or succeed at installing or removing a car part. Which means that one of the best ways to level up this skill is to find a car that you don't want and scrap it. Meaning that you keep removing parts of the car until they're destroyed. However, you only get XP for reinstalling parts once every 24 hours. So you can't just sit down and change the headlights until you reach level 10. Although you can only get XP from installing car parts once every 24 hours, keep in mind that successfully installing a part will give you far more XP than a failure would. So it's still definitely good to successfully install a car part. There is a lot more to car maintenance than just this, but that deserves a whole other video on its own, so let's move on. The only thing to mention about tailoring is that, in addition to completing crafts with the skill, you can also patch up damaged clothing to level it up as well. To do this, right-click on an item of clothing that has a hole in it, inspect it, and right-click on any part of the clothing with a hole to patch it up. Finally, the main thing to mention about welding is that, in addition to the builds and crafts, you can also find many things that you can dismantle for XP as well, the most notable of which are car wrecks, which can be found around the world. Dismantling these uses a lot of welding torch fuel, but gives you massive amounts of XP for each car that you dismantle. We can now talk about the farming skills, starting with agriculture. This is the skill that will affect how well you're able to grow and keep healthy crops. Higher levels in agriculture will increase the yield of crops that you plant, the starting health of your crops, the rate that your crops recover from disease, and chance that you'll get a bonus yield from your crops during their best growing months or when fertilized. Additionally, the chance of crops becoming cursed during their poor months is reduced with higher levels as well. On top of all of that, you'll also get more detailed information about crops with higher levels. For example, at level 3, the tooltip while hovering over a crop will start to show its growth phase, water level, and any diseases that the crops have. There is only one way to get XP for this skill outside of VHS tapes and TV shows, and that is to harvest a crop that you planted. And you'll get more XP for the healthier your crop is when you harvest it, so make sure you keep your little guys safe. Animal care is the skill that affects your ability to take care of domestic animals. Higher levels in this skill allow you to see more information about your animals, as well as decreasing the chance that animals will be stressed from being milked or sheared. To gain XP in this skill, you simply have to interact with your animals. Actions such as giving them water, harvesting resources like milk, wool, and eggs, or even just petting your animals will provide you with XP for this skill. This is a sad one to go into right after animal care, but it is fitting because we all know that when you keep livestock, this is the next step. This is the skill that allows you to get resources such as meat and hides from your dead animal friends. Higher levels in this skill affects the cut quality of the meat you harvest when butchering. To gain XP in this skill, you gotta butcher some animals. Additionally, filleting fish also provides butchering XP. Just make sure that you send a prayer up to God apologizing for your sins while you do it. The amount of XP that you gain from butchering something scales with the amount of meat that you harvest from it in the butchering process. As we move into the physical skills, I want to quickly get two of the most important ones out of the way. If you remember all the way back to the beginning of this video, I mentioned that all skills start at 0 with the exception of fitness and strength. Why is that? Well, those two skills are arguably the most important in the game. These are referred to as your passive skills, because there isn't a whole lot that you can directly do to level them up. But they passively level up and affect almost everything that you do in Project Zomboid. And they require far more XP than the other skills. They start at level 5 because that's considered to be the baseline for all survivors, but some traits can be taken that lower their starting level, meaning that you could definitely start with fitness or strength at level 3, depending on how you build your survivor. Before we talk about the two of them in detail though, I want to make sure that we don't brush under the rug how much more XP you need for these skills. To get to level 1 in any other non-passive skill, you'll need 75 XP in that skill. To get to level 1 in a passive skill, you'll need 1,500 XP. Just a little bit more. But hey, you do start at level 5, which is good, so you don't gotta worry about all that early level stuff. But that does also mean that you need to get 30,000 XP to get to level 6. Oh, and the cherry on top of this cake is that passive skills don't get any XP boosts either. In regards to fitness, this is the passive skill that affects your survivor's endurance and combat prowess. Higher skills in fitness will grant you increased attack speed with melee weapons, increased chance to automatically push a zombie away when attacked, decreased chance of falling when a zombie swipes at your feet, and increase your exercise speed. Plus, you'll also take less damage from falls, lose endurance slower, and regain it faster. There are several ways to gain XP in this skill. Hitting enemies with melee attacks while you're not overexerted will provide XP, and running or sprinting will also occasionally provide fitness XP as well. The final way to get XP for fitness is to exercise. You know, that thing that we all love to do as people that stay inside playing a zombie game all day. That thing, doing any exercise that doesn't use any weights, is a good way to get a sizable amount of fitness XP. But be careful, because you'll have to deal with the sore muscles later. Strength is the skill that'll affect your ability to brute force your way through things. Higher levels in strength will increase your maximum carry weight, chance to force locked windows open, and chance to successfully climb tall fences. Additionally, your melee damage, push knockback, and knockdown chance will be increased as well. You can gain XP in strength by hitting zombies with melee attacks, cutting trees, running, carrying more than 50% of your carry capacity, and last but certainly not least, that thing that we all love so much. Yeah, it's exercising again. Yeah, don't we all love it? Any exercise that involves weights will give you strength XP. Burpees will also grant strength XP as well as fitness XP, but they are very taxing on your endurance. Off the passive skills now, we have light-footed, which is the skill that determines how loud your footsteps are. It's pretty simple. The higher level you are in light-footed, the less sound you'll make when moving, and the more likely zombies are to just ignore your footsteps while you sneak. To gain XP in this skill, you'll need to be sneaking near zombies without being detected. You'll gain more experience for each zombie that you're near while doing this, so luring a big group together and sneaking around them can be a very effective way to level this skill. Just make sure they don't see you. Things may not go so well after that. Nimble is the skill that affects how your survivor moves while in their combat stance. Higher levels in this skill will allow you to move faster while in your combat stance, and reduces the noise that your footsteps make, which stacks with the same effect from light-footed. You will occasionally gain experience in this skill whenever you're moving while in your combat stance, even if there aren't any zombies nearby. So you can just walk around with your weapon up and walk in circles if you want. It'll take a while, but it'll work. Just pretend that you're in a Wild West movie and you're circling your nemesis at sundown or something. Running couldn't be simpler. It affects how fast you move while running or sprinting. Higher levels means faster speed, and you gain XP from running and sprinting. Super easy. Moving on. Sneaking is the skill that affects how good you are at sneaking. Shocker, I know. Higher levels will reduce how loud your footsteps are, stacking with the same effects from nimble and light-footed, as well as decreasing the chance that zombies will detect you while you're sneaking. Although both sneaking and light-footed provide very similar effects, light-footed helps more with sound reduction, while sneaking helps more with the detection chance. Okay guys, here we are on our final skill category, survival. This video is already so long, so let's not dilly-dally. First aid is the skill that is used to treat injuries. Higher levels in this skill provide many benefits. You'll perform first aid faster, make bandages last longer, increase the effectiveness of splints, and heal fractures faster. The only way to gain XP in this skill is by performing first aid on yourself or any other players. Guys, you'll never believe this, but fishing is the skill that affects your ability to fish. I know, right? Higher levels in fishing will increase the quality of fish that you catch. You'll get XP in this skill by catching something while fishing. The bigger the fish, the more XP you'll receive. Foraging is an interesting one. This is the skill that affects how good your survivor is at scavenging for resources, which is incredibly useful. Getting higher levels in foraging will allow for a larger array of items to be found while foraging. It'll increase the radius that you'll be able to spot things while foraging, increase the rarity of items that you'll find while foraging, and reduce the chance that food you find is poisonous. Getting XP for this skill couldn't be easier. Get out there and forage. Every time you find an item while foraging, you'll gain XP for this skill. Tracking is a weird skill. As of right now, it's not really finished with its implementation. So take what we go over here with a grain of salt, as it's likely that there will be changes in the future. There wasn't even like a little sprite icon for tracking. I had to make this one. That being said, I'm pretty proud of it. I think it looks good for like the 5 minutes I spent on it. Anyways, tracking affects your survivor's ability to identify and follow wild animal tracks. To find tracks, you'll need to be foraging, with your search focus set to animal tracks. Higher levels improve your ability to find tracks, as well as provide you with more information on the animal that made the tracks. You level up this skill by finding and analyzing tracks while foraging. And finally, trapping, the skill that affects how likely you are to catch an animal when using traps. And that's about it. Higher levels mean a higher chance to catch something in a trap, Gaining XP is super simple as well. You gain XP when you collect an animal from a trap that you placed, with the amount of XP being proportional to the size of the animal. Whew, just like that, we have reached the end of this video. You now know all of the skills in Project Zomboid and how to level them up. Since I am still fairly new to Zomboid, I want to encourage you guys to let me know down in the comments if I missed anything or got anything wrong. The quality of the information I give you guys is very important to me. Okay, I'm gonna go off the script now for a second. This is taking so long, guys. This blanket, I record under a blanket. It's so hot in here because I can't have the AC on because the mic picks it up. I need to shower. It's so hot under this. Anyways, if you like the video, then like the video. It helps out the channel a lot. If you want to see more from me, then grab the nearest fish and slap that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.